Hi everyone, welcome back to X-Raised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. I'm your host Miles, and I'll sit down once again with a leader raising standards and completely rethinking what's possible in law, tech, and beyond. Our featured guest is not just leading the conversation, she's reshaping the game of legal research. She's an award winning barrister who's taken her decades of legal expertise and co founded a legal tech company that's redefining how to reason and resolve complex matters in law. She's on a mission to make AI backed legal research not just fast or smart, but more importantly, trustworthy, ethical, and empowering for lawyers at every level. And evidently, the world is paying attention. Recently, she's named as the most influential CEO 2025 in the legal tech in Sydney and has just landed a speaking spot at the prestigious Australian Law Forum in the tech stream. She's here to talk about building competitive intelligence into legal practice and how smart research can shift the entire case strategy. Please welcome back the unstoppable founder and chief executive officer of MiAI Law, Laina Chan. Hi.
Thanks, Miles.
As always, it's such a privilege having you here on X Rays and talking with you about your platform. You've been doing so much, Lena, with My AI Law. And today we're diving into the competitive edge of smart legal research as part of our series Practice Reimagined from Courtroom to Code. So let's discuss what happens when AI meets complex commercial matters and why intelligence, not just automation, is the true differentiator. Starting with a big picture view, what kinds of matters or disputes is my AI law exceptionally good at navigating?
The algorithms have been prepared to work across all subject matters. And I'm a commercial barrister, so I've only checked it against different types of commercial type questions. On top of the 10 subject matter areas that Alan's has benchmarked, they're all commercial, contract, real estate, intellectual property, etc. There's 10 different areas. We've also tested it against other types of subject matter areas like trusts, etc. And it's all working. I
Hmm.
have reason to believe that it will also work across criminal law, etc. But I haven't personally tested it. But we'll get to it. But yesterday I got the chance to use my AI on to help me do the research for a set of submissions in the Court of Appeal. And we had been given an application to reopen a judgment, and I really didn't know anything about that area of law at all. In
Uh-huh.
this particular instance, I mean, I've had cases before where people have tried to reopen judgments, but the points that were being taken, I was not familiar with. And so I ran the research prompt through my AI, and then it highlighted the relevant cases that may be relevant. And
Mhm.
then I used my knowledge about what research I wanted to look at. And then I combined it all and just kept giving it questions and, getting it to help me find all the cases on point. And
Mhm.
then at the end, I prepared some submissions based on all that research, but I still had to, it saved a lot of time. I think I'm sure it saved, I don't know, hours, at least days worth of research because
Mhm.
everything came pinpointed, but I still needed to look at the cases, the ones that I found particularly of interest. I had to look at the cases themselves and then take what I needed from it. Then I had to use my judgment as to which points I wanted to run and which points I didn't want to run. But it just saved a lot of time because it told me what types of points I might want to run. And then I fine-tuned it with my experience to see, I can run this, I can't run this, I don't
Yeah.
need to make that point, etc. So it's definitely not about replacing a lawyer, but it's much more palatable to get an answer than to run the question through a typical research database where it just
Mhm.
gives you a whole host of
Yeah.
cases, then you have to troll through all of them to try and work out,
Yeah.
which case may be on point. It just cuts through and it just gives you a bunch of cases that are
Are
relevant to your point. So at
hmm,
the end of the day, I think I ended up looking at 12 cases in detail, maybe.
uh-huh. So it
Yeah,
filters
12 to
it.
15 cases in detail. It just helped me filter.
Yeah. And you make the judgment.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
helped me filter. It gave me the possible points I wanted to make, and then, and then I would say, well, why would I want to make that point? And they go, oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talk to my AI like it's a human being. I go, why are you
Yeah.
doing that?
That's pretty awesome. If my AI can handle both high-level commercial disputes and deep trench trust law, I guess we're not just talking versatility, we're talking legal omnipresence. And that's broad and deeply impressive, I guess. You've turned AI into a partner that thrives in complexity. I mean, it's not generalized, not just compliance checklist. So, in terms of research, what are lawyers typically overlooking that my AI quietly fixes or corrects and enhances behind the scenes?
Well, it's because we can look at the entire database. I mean, a lawyer is restricted by the time, right? I mean, and the time and cost and what the client is willing to pay. And time is a limited resource. But my AI can go through the whole database and search for the cases on point according to my algorithm, and then return the cases and the legislations that, my research algorithm says are the best fit for the questions and the facts that the user has put to the system. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it just eliminates this area of surprise. Surprise, and it allows you to pick up the peripheral issues so that so that it
It's like,
makes you really powerful, doesn't it? It just makes
mhm.
you like you know the core issue, and then but then the AI will also pick up that, in these particular cases, these were side issues that were also discussed, and these side issues may also arise in your particular factual scenario. So it can do
Uh-huh.
that. And then it finds you cases on point. It just makes you really powerful. And so yesterday when I also tried to do some normal type research and I ran the research question that I was working on for my appeal submissions, it returned like 3,000 cases. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, that's disgusting. What can I do with 3,000 cases? It's so horrible. And
Uh-huh.
I went back to my own research platform because, it gives you targeted answers.
It sounds so cool. Like it's
I
like
know it's so
having a
cool.
second set of eyes that doesn't blink or miss those sneaky peripheral issues, as you've said. My AI catching those is like having a legal radar that spots storms on the horizon. It's
Yeah.
quietly fixing, loudly saving the day. So I imagine it feels a bit like walking into court, already knowing the twist in the third act, I guess.
Well,
So,
you're just better prepared because it's warned you of I mean, you've asked the right questions. Then it's warned you of you can ask for pitfalls and you can ask it to assess which arguments are more likely to succeed or not succeed. You can ask it all
uh-huh.
of that. It's got the entire database to make this assessment and make the prediction. And that's what AI is good at. It's good at looking at probabilities. I mean, it works on
Mhm.
probabilities and inferences. So if you're asking it to assess the probability of one argument being more successful than another, then it's perfectly placed to do that because that's how AI operates.
Yeah. Now, let's talk pinpoint referencing, Lena. It sounds technical, but it's clearly powerful. Why is that more than just a nice to have feature?
It just really saves time. Or because our whole platform isn't built out yet, or actually the developers are building it, but they've only given me what they call a sandbox because they say make sure Lena doesn't stuff up a model. So we're going to give her a sandbox to play in. So my sandbox doesn't have yet the pinpoint references hyperlink to the exact case, right? And so
Mhm.
I've had to manually go and pull out the cases and look at them and run them through the summarization, etc., and then look at what the summary say and then go to the case itself. If you've got pinpoint referencing that I could have just clicked and then it would have come up on my right-hand side panel, I could have looked at it and checked. It
Mhm.
just cuts down a lot of time. Whereas yesterday, because I'm only playing in a sandbox, I had to go and look at my other
Yes. So
subscriptions, etc., and then pull it all down manually. Oh,
mhm.
it's
So saving time, and it's where
saving time.
accuracy meets accountability. In
Exactly.
a world where citations can make or break credibility, pinpoint referencing is the difference between a confident argument and the courtroom guesswork. We're not talking about those vague, hand wavy AI answers. And that's a
No, no.
different league altogether, Lena. So
Well, it
when,
was really great. I'm
uh-huh,
cutting it, but in these submissions that I was answering, the other side was relying on four main cases. And I've got those four cases and I ran it through my case summarization. And it just highlighted all the key details that I needed to know about that case. And it told me where to find certain things, like, the key principles for whatever it is we're arguing about in that case. And
mhm,
I could just go directly to those paragraphs to see what I needed to see for the purposes of doing this submission. So it just saves so much time. It just cut through everything. And if
mhm,
everything had been hyperlinked, I wouldn't have had to move in and out of all the, move in and out of my sandbox and then go to my external subscriptions, pull out the documents, and then put it through case summarization, etc. It
mhm.
would just have been a click of a button. I could have checked everything through.
Yeah. How about when multiple lawyers are collaborating on a high stakes case, Lena? How does my AI help keep everyone aligned on the legal strategy?
Well, it's not for this release, but I think in stage two, it's part of the product, part of my product requirement. It's either stage two or stage three. I can't remember when I've scheduled that, but you'll be
Mhm.
able to have teams of lawyers logging into the same project file, so
Okay.
that you'll be able to see what each other is doing in
Ah,
there, and then you can ask questions, you can talk to each other, you'll all have access to the same documents, you'll have access to the same research, and then you can all see what everyone else is doing on the case. And then you'll
mhm.
be able to do your own research there. You can collaborate.
Yeah. Cool. So legal harmony, collaboration with structure. It's like
Mhm.
a legal war room.
It's very exciting, isn't it? And honestly, this honestly does come from the fact that I'm, used to working in a team. So then
Uh-huh.
you know what would be so cool if you could do that.
Mm-hmm. My AI law is the shared brain. Now, that's a concept I can get behind. And finally, what's one small feature inside my AI that's made a surprisingly big impact for lawyers working on complex litigation, Lena?
What will make a big impact?
Yeah.
Did you ask me? I think that it is surprise. It's reducing the element of surprise.
Uh-huh.
You go into it comes down to the limited time and the limited resources. If you're working on a really big case and each side has like really huge legal teams, you can be flooded with thousands of pages of submissions and zillions of cases, and who really has time to look at every single one of the cases that your opponent has referred to? My AI will just be able to troll through the cases that have been referred to and produce case summarizations for all of these cases, so that you can interrogate your
Uh-huh.
case summaries, and you can, work out if there's something in there that your opponent has not highlighted but is actually in your favor. And this is what actually happened to me yesterday. When
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the four cases that my opponent had referred to, I looked at them all. I looked at what the case summary say, and I ultimately looked at the cases, and I could see that those cases were not actually in their favor, even though they had cited them in their favor. And I could refer to other sections of those cases to, I think, discredit their argument.
Interesting.
And
So,
the same with the documents, right? Some cases have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of documents. And eventually, not yet, this is much later on, that you'll be able to use MiAI to search
mhm.
the database of documents.
So removing surprises from litigation,
But that's
like
later.
that.
I mean, that's something I'm working on with the
Mhm.
data providers.
I see. So whether it's a sneaky clause in a footnote or a precedent buried in a mountain of PDFs, my AI is doing the quiet work of keeping lawyers two steps ahead of any drama.
Yeah. So at the moment, we're just doing the research first, but I am working.
Uh-huh.
I have data providers like big data providers that we are about to collaborate with to provide large law firms with on-prem solutions so that can use AI to search their databases without having to send their data off-site. So, I mean, that's the data privacy that everyone's worried about. But we're talking about huge cases with hundreds of thousands of documents. I mean, that's a really big solution. I mean, that's a big bespoke solution that you have to work on with the particular firms. But at the moment now, we're just helping people troll through uh, over a million, cases and pieces of legislation.
Yeah, the big chunk first.
Yeah.
Well, this was another rich and insightful conversation, Lena. As I always say, what I love about yeah, my AI is how it's not just about speed or automation. It also saves time. It's about clarity, collaboration, and confidence in complex moments.
It's totally about confidence that you're on the right path, that your strategy is actually backed by legal authority.
You're proving that in the right hands, AI doesn't replace human legal minds, it sharpens them. So thank you
Well,
so
it
much again,
can't
Lena.
replace. I just don't see how it can replace a lawyer because that would be honestly like saying that a graduate with AI in their hands would
I
be as
like that.
powerful as an experienced lawyer using that same AI. And that's just not possible because,
Mhm.
AI is also guided by a prompt. So I just can't see how the inexperienced lawyer would have the same insight as the experienced lawyer to be asking the right questions of the AI.
And prompting is really essential.
Yeah.
So thank you so much again, Lena, for joining us here on X Race. Your work continues to inspire our community, and we can't wait to see what's next as My AI Law launches and scales even further. I'll see you in our
Thank
next
you.
episode.
Thanks,
So,
Miles.
thank you. So, if you're a legal professional looking to elevate your research game or simply curious about how smart AI can support your practice, check out myai.law and watch out for their upcoming launch. Thanks as always for tuning in, for subscribing, and for keeping the conversation smart, human, and forward thinking. Lena and I will see you again. So, this has been your host, Miles. Stay focused and inspired with X Rays.